Hey, I'm JD. Welcome to Investigating Comic Club, where we chronologically read, rate, and review specific crucial stories of the medium. We encourage you guys, the viewer, to read along with us, and at the end of each video, do our comic quality poll, rate the comic in question yourselves, and then discuss it in the comment section below. Unfortunately, today I'm on my own, as Garen and our producer are taking a trip to hopefully finalize some details for some special plans that we have for you guys in September. Today we are going to be discussing Powers of X #2 by Jonathan Hickman. In this issue we open up with a pretty cool quote from Magneto, which I think I'll discuss a little bit later because there's a bookend to that quote. We start in the year 1, X0, on Island M in the Bermuda Triangle. Moira and Professor X are visiting Magneto on this island. This is something I might not mention actually if Garen was here. Longtime readers might recognize this island as a place that Magneto took up some residence, I believe, around issue 150 of the original Uncanny X-Men, written by Chris Claremont and illustrated by Dave Cockrum, I believe, at the time. And I think that's a cool example of, there's something majestic about that. The art is lovely. It works as its own for Garen, I hope. That it looks majestic, it reads one way, it feels like it has history. And then for a long-time reader, it does have history. And that history, we know what it is, long-time readers, but I don't think it takes away from Garen's enjoyment. It's just an added layer for long-time readers without alienating new readers. It works for both, which is exactly, I think, its intention. So Moira and Charles X have gone to this island to recruit Magneto. In a moment, he trusts Charles, and the three are connected with Charles telepathically. It's a lovely moment. I started to think that, is this what we're going to kind of get? Are we going to see Moira and Charles recruit the VIPs of the new establishment? Apocalypse, Sinister. It feels like that way, but I have a sense that Hickman's got something else planned. I've been disappointed with the hard copies. The muddy quality to the printing almost looks like it's in low res, or the brightness needs to be turned up. That's not a fault of the artist. This page, for the first time in the series, I felt like there were a couple panels here where R.B. Silva, while not necessarily sloppy, I don't think they fit alongside the art that we've seen so far. I love the Master Mold confirmation that's been going up there, and we saw Karima, the Omega Sentinel, up planning with this host of humans, the head of a Master Mold. I don't think Hickman, for new readers, has established yet properly what that Master Mold is in a way that this sequence could have resonated if he had spent even a panel leading up to this moment before we're kind of dropped that bomb of it's a Master Mold. I love that it's referred to as Mother Mold. Hickman, he's doing really well, and it's one of those, the moment I read it, it felt so proper to hear something called Mother Mold. It's one of those things that when my imagination hears it, like it feels like it's existed this entire time in the mythos, and it's just been waiting to be revealed. I think a great example of that is Grant Morrison when he took Weapon X and revealed that it was Weapon 10 in the Weapon Plus program. It's one of those awesome, inspiring choices. It seems so simple, and it is, but it's so elegant that it just, the imagination of people like that, I feel like it's very, very inspiring. It's also almost frustrating as a storyteller that like, oh, it was right there waiting for someone to reveal it. It's a beautiful, excellent thing. Simple new ideas like that can just revolutionize a brand and a mythos. It's similar to what he's done with Moira McTaggart. Again, I haven't read that much with Hickman, but I think and feel from what I've heard it's one of his strengths. that ability to do something that has been established for so long, create new elements to it, but things that are so fitting that it won't alienate longtime readers, it will excite them. It's a real skill. So that group up there that's with Karima, they're revealed to be called Orcus, which my query into the meaning of had very interesting results. Orcus, from the definition I read, was a testicle orchid. I'm not making that up. I think it's interesting, Scott's their soldier here. I know that there's been a lot of controversy with Scott's character over the last few years. I stopped reading several years ago, so I don't know exactly where all of that has led, but my feeling here in this scene, he's essentially their soldier. He's ready to do what he needs to do, and he's given himself over completely to Professor X and Magneto in such a way that I wonder if he has been let in with Moira X as well. It would be a fitting thing to let Scott in there, as he's kind of considered the first X-Man. Him and Charles, out of everybody on the team, next to maybe Jean, him and Charles are the closest. We're in year 100, and it's revealed that the leader of this future group of X-Men is Apocalypse. And I immediately thought, Apocalypse is known as passing down host bodies throughout the ages. When he uses a body up, he'll transfer his consciousness into a new host. And I'm wondering if, we saw Moira X and Apocalypse standing side by side in one of her years. I believe it was year 9. And I wonder if this is actually Moira X, either completely in Apocalypse's body, or if they have now combined to be a shared consciousness. And did we not see her death in year 100 because Jonathan Hickman is going to be showing that in kind of real time as we read along with this series? And has she gotten to a place now with Apocalypse that this whole timeline, is she written it off? Is she just going to do, essentially, like Logan says, a suicide life that is all about preparing the information that she needs, gathering it for her next life? And we see that next life as this year X, this year 10. A side note, I loved Logan's costume in that. I was always a bigger fan of the brown and beige costume, and I think that this is a pretty lovely kind of rendition of that. I was grateful to see Nimrod react emotionally, that it's evolved to that. I think it mostly lends itself to a better villain than an emotionless machine. The page here on Asteroid K, where they're kind of going over what the plan was, what they achieved, how they were successful, what elements they failed. It's a good example of my concern that this series, with its lack of character, it'll read too plot heavy, and us as readers won't emotionally connect to it because there's not one POV character that we're struggling alongside as this story develops. This page read so coldly, like there's only 8 of them. Why are they telling each other what their plan was? It just felt like complete exposition for the reader's benefit without any real reason given. Like if there was a brand new character dropped in there that we were following along through these different timelines, that was discovering this along the way as the readers are, them sharing that to this POV character as the readers are learning about it through them, that would connect us more and ground it more in emotion and makes for better storytelling. As I was reading the tech pages in this issue, kind of going along with that emotionless journey that we're on, it started to feel like maybe Hickman, maybe this is his series Bible that he is developing between these 2 miniseries that will work like a television series Bible to his proper X-Men run. as it begins in late October. And these will just kind of stand alone as the reestablishing of what the X-Men lore is going forward for his 3 years. Here's 12 issues over the course of 3 months. Crash course, this is the new X-Men universe. Let's move forward now that that's been established. And it reads more like, it's an extremely creative way. Like if you were going to pitch a television series, you should put together a series Bible that is this kind of overview of it, tells the story of the first season, an overview of the series as a whole, who the characters are that we're going to care about. It feels like he's doing that for the Marvel Universe. And the timeline of that works kind of like maybe he was kind of assigned that and brought in because Disney now has the Fox X-Men characters. So, Jonathan, you've done this with our Fantastic Four. That's ready for us to explore in the future. You did it for the Avengers. That takes us into the next decade of our Marvel Cinematic Universe. Do it for the X-Men. We're going to give them a few years off. When we come back and we start to show audiences a new version of the X-Men, give us your ideas that we can mine for a decade in these Marvel Cinematic Universes. That being said, I still really enjoyed these tech pages. I didn't find them dull in any way. And even though these pages, I feel like they might be slightly more challenging to get through, challenging to absorb some of the information that we're given because it's, technobabble, googly gawk. For me personally, I'm not good with that stuff. So it was challenging to read, but it wasn't challenging in a way that felt impenetrable. I enjoyed the challenge of it, and I did challenge myself to read it and absorb it by the end of it in a way that got me excited to read more. So they're still really working for me. It's an interesting dynamic right now. I said in a previous episode, I really miss Garen being here, but we're going to struggle through. We wanted to stick with our schedule of Wednesday releases for our X-Men Jonathan Hickman relaunch, and our Sundays we're doing the Chronological Marvel, which is an exploration of the foundation of the Marvel Universe, read chronologically. So that's why I'm kind of going to go through, and I appreciate you guys sticking in there and enjoying, hopefully, what I have to say, and I look forward to having discussions with you guys in the comments, for sure. So that being said, I was saying in a previous episode that if we're not given proper characters to care about by the third issues of these series, it's going to be a flaw. I don't think he's too concerned about that. Now that I have the feeling that this is really just an establishing new series Bible for the X-Men proper, as he moves forward, we'll get a lot more character, a lot more focus on certain people, how they interact. All of those things I think will come with X-Men #1 in October, I believe. So feeling that he's not too concerned about that, I'm not too concerned about it now either. I think there may have still been a way to do it, one character to ground this story through, but it also may have limited whichever character he used. It could have been anybody like Sage, somebody like Douglock or something like that. If Douglock was this person that he chose to have the POV through all these timelines, it would limit his use of Douglock in the new series proper. So even though I think it may have been effective, gotten the readers more engaged, probably, it's up to, I guess, every individual to decide if they would have liked one character to ground it in a POV or not. Now I'm not too concerned about it. I'm just going to kind of enjoy reading this. This is a larger picture. I thought about, like Apocalypse, my kind of theory about that being Moira in year 100. I wonder if this being that is talking to Nimrod in the year 1000, I wonder if that's Moira. And I wonder if that's the evolution of Apocalypse in that era. Is that a direct line from Moira's 9th life to this future one, and that's why we haven't seen her death yet? Does she make it all the way to there with that phalanx before she goes back and has this discussion to create House of 10 with Charles? Plus, holy, it was so cool to see the Phalanx. They were never one of my favorites. I recently reread all the introduction of them, just happened to, and I enjoyed it a lot more this time. But the original crossover that introduced them, it was a little bit hit and miss issue by issue. The quality of it didn't quite sing. I think the Phalanx Covenant was the first crossover that wasn't dealing directly from things that were left over by Louise Simonson and Chris Claremont. We had the Extinction Agenda and the Executioner Song. It felt like the Executioner Song was a natural progression of things that had been started in Chris Claremont and Louise Simonson's runs. And then the Phalanx Covenant was the first kind of crossover after that wrapped up, and I didn't really connect with me. Later on, the Phalanx showed up in Annihilation with the Guardians of the Galaxy, which was pretty special. But regardless, it still struck me as so cool when they showed up in this. It was so much fun when, bam, the Phalanx. Wow, he is diving deep. You know, we've seen Douglock and Sage, and it's really cool. I feel like when Grant Morrison came on, when Joss Whedon came on, when certain people have come on to the X books, the concentration is on that Chris Claremont era. I love that Hickman, although that Chris Claremont era is my favorite, and if I was to dive in and write a story for X-Men, it probably would be so Chris Claremont heavy, but it's exciting for me to see Hickman embracing all of it. I think that that is super, super cool, and I admire it, and I think that it's going to cause a lot of excitement through a lot of different readers. It is a full... oh my god. Yeah, X-Men has been there. It's 80 years this year. And why not use all of it to your advantage? I think it's interesting, the quote that starts it off with Magneto and the quote that ends it with Professor X. It echoes what's happening in the story with the Phalanx and the idea of, here's this hive consciousness. We're going to absorb everything. And that's the ability... that's the end game of true peaceful unity. You are giving up identity, individuality, creativity for an absolute peaceful existence. And it just struck me that Professor X is almost saying to Magneto, join us, become united. Has Moira, is that the inevitable end? To be uploaded into this consciousness? Is that the end game? Is that the flipperoo that is going to happen where, oh damn, Moira X, through all of her lives, she's decided that the end game is this ascension? You have Magneto kind of struggling with his individuality. That's the beautiful thing about the dynamic between Professor X and Magneto. That's why Magneto has been such a great character, because there's so much about him that we can relate to, that we can get behind. But when your individuality and your fight to continue that individuality becomes destructive to the people around you, when your individuality stops beneficial conversation, communication, when you are so bold and righteous in your opinion being the only one that counts. That's the beautiful dynamic of this X-Men misfit universe. Only with understanding, only with that effort to see beyond the surface, to drive deeper, to have those conversations and that communication. That's when the enlightenment will hopefully happen. And it's such a powerful, lovely message. So simple, so very complicated. Could be achieved, but will never be achieved. It's a lovely, awesome struggle. I wish I could communicate with Garen in this episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, though. I hope that you guys will tune in on Sunday for Chronological Marvel, which will be discussing Daredevil, the Man Without Fear by Frank Miller, John Romita Jr., and Al Williamson. It's an awesome read. If you get a chance, get yourself a copy. Come back on Sunday, take a look. And for this one, please, I don't know how to do the comic quality poll. I hope that Garen, after the fact, will be able to plug it in there, but if not, please, in the comments below, do give the rating of what you felt about this issue in A, B, C, D, or F. I gave the issue a solid B. Again, that lack of emotion, a character to care and root for, disconnects me from it a bit, but I'm loving the story. And I certainly look forward to next week and the new issue. I hope that you'll join me. Yep. First problem with only JD here. Number 2, unfortunately, I am on my own, but I will still be reviewing rate, and discuss. Who am I talking to? Joey. And at the end of each video, give us your own rating of what the issue in question at the end of each video, and comment and let us know what you think. Damn. I want my cigarettes. I want Garen. So sad, so sad. Where are you, Garen? I miss you, bud. Alright, so, good enough. Garen!